Spark and Seed proudly presents The Dark History of Khmer Stolen Treasures. For centuries, Cambodia has been caught in a relentless struggle against expansionist ambitions, invasions, and the greed of those who sought to strip it of its treasures. From the aggressive incursions of the Ayutthaya kingdom in the 15th century, which sought to dominate the weakened Khmer Empire, to the later manipulations of Vietnamese Emperor Bao Dai and French colonial expansionists, the story has been one of savagery, land grabbing, and the systematic theft of a nation's soul. Cambodia, once a flourishing civilization known for its monumental temples and intricate artistry, became a target for those who saw its cultural wealth as an opportunity for power and profit. Each wave of invasion and occupation brought with it a new form of exploitation. The expansionist policies of Cambodia's neighbors and colonial rulers were driven by a hunger for territory, control, and the prestige that came with possessing the relics of an ancient empire. These relics were not just symbols of a rich cultural heritage, they were pawns in a game of power, leveraged by those who sought to legitimize their rule over a proud but beleaguered nation. What began as land seizures soon expanded into cultural plunder, where the looting of temples and the theft of artifacts became a brutal means of erasing Cambodia's past and asserting dominance. Precious relics, such as the revered statue of Preah Ko from the Roluos group temples, the sandstone Vishnu statues from Angkor Wat, and the delicate bas-reliefs of Apsara dancers, were not just taken for their material value, they were stolen to break the spirit of the Khmer people. These artifacts, which once stood as symbols of strength, spiritual protection, and cultural identity, were ripped from their sanctuaries and scattered across foreign lands. In the hands of invaders, they became trophies of conquest, stripped of their sacredness, and used to signify the subjugation of a once great empire. The removal of these artifacts was an attempt to erase the connection between the Khmer people and their heritage, to weaken their spirit by severing the ties to their proud past. This video will expose the dark, often hidden history of how the world's fascination with Khmer art and ancient relics led to the pillaging of Cambodia's heritage. It will trace the timeline of theft from the early expansionist incursions to the modern-day black markets, revealing the role of smugglers, collectors, and powerful elites who exploited Cambodia's vulnerability for their gain. Through this lens, we will explore the devastating impact of these actions on the cultural soul of Cambodia and the enduring resilience of the Khmer people, who have time and again risen with a strong sense of purpose to reclaim what was stolen and honor the legacy of their ancestors. When the French established a protectorate over Cambodia in 1863, they brought with them explorers, archaeologists, and scholars eager to uncover the mysteries of the Khmer Empire. The most famous of these was Henri Mouhot, who in the mid-19th century reintroduced Angkor Wat to the Western world. What began as a scholarly mission soon turned into a frenzy of collecting, cataloging, and most controversially, taking. French colonial authorities saw themselves as cultural custodians, but in practice, they were looters who exploited Cambodia's heritage for their own gain. The École Française d'Extrême-Orient, IFIO, founded in 1898, the FEO had a mandate to study and preserve Southeast Asian cultures, yet it played a double-edged role. While it documented and restored many temples, it also facilitated the removal of countless relics, shipping them back to France to be displayed at the Musée Guimet and other institutions. Artifacts such as statues of gods, temple lintels, and bas-reliefs were dismantled and transported to Europe, where they became centerpieces in exhibitions celebrating France's so-called civilizing mission. During this period, relics from temples like Ban Tie Srei and Angkor Thom were carted off to France. Officially, they were preserved in European museums, but many were smuggled out through private deals. French administrators, archaeologists, and collectors saw these relics as trophies of colonial conquest, symbols of their dominance over an exotic culture. What they failed to see, or chose to ignore, was that they were stripping Cambodia of its spiritual and cultural heritage, reducing sacred symbols to mere collectibles. This was a calculated act of cultural erasure, meant to diminish the spirit of a nation that had once stood strong and proud. Yet, even as these treasures were stolen, the Khmer people held on to their identity. Their resilience shone through in the preservation of traditions, the passing down of stories, and the quiet defiance of a culture that refused to be erased. The period of the Cambodian Civil War from 1970 to 1975 and the brutal Khmer Rouge regime from 1975 to 1979 plunged the country into chaos. During these dark years, the government's control over the countryside collapsed, and many of Cambodia's ancient sites were left unprotected. Temples were raided, statues were decapitated, and intricate carvings were hacked from their foundations. These stolen pieces became hot commodities in the global black market for antiquities. As Cambodia descended into turmoil, Thailand emerged as a key player in the smuggling of Khmer relics. Looters would transport artifacts across the porous border into Thailand, where they would be sold to middlemen and international dealers. Bangkok became a notorious hub for the illicit trade in Khmer artifacts. Dealers, auction houses, and private collectors from the West flocked to Thailand, eager to acquire pieces of the now infamous stolen empire. This era saw the rise of infamous dealers like Douglas Latchford, a British art dealer who trafficked countless Khmer relics to Western buyers. Latchford was instrumental in creating false provenance for stolen items, masking their illegal origins with fabricated documents. Pieces from Kokar, a remote 10th century temple complex, were smuggled out in pieces, with statues decapitated and their heads transported separately to avoid detection. Despite the clear evidence of theft, these artifacts were sold for millions of dollars in auctions and private sales across Europe and the United States. The chaos of war had given cover to those who sought to strip Cambodia of its treasures, but it was the resilience of the Khmer spirit that would eventually rise to challenge these forces. Even as their temples were plundered, The Khmer people's will to protect and reclaim their heritage only grew stronger. The 1990s and 2000s saw a boom in the global trade of antiquities, driven by high-profile auctions. Major auction houses like Sotheby's and Christie's in New York and London hosted sales where Khmer artifacts, many of dubious origin, fetched astronomical prices. A 10th century sandstone statue of a warrior from Khmer was listed at over $2 million at Sotheby's in 2011, but was withdrawn after Cambodia intervened, claiming it had been stolen during the 1970s. The case led to a legal battle that highlighted the murky world of antiquities auctions, where the line between legitimate and stolen is often blurred. Two of the most infamous cases involved the Duryodhana and Bhima statues, both stolen from the Khmer temple complex. These statues, each worth several $1 million, were smuggled out of Cambodia during the Civil War era and ended up in prestigious museums and private collections. In 2013, after a lengthy legal battle, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York agreed to return them to Cambodia. The case set a precedent for repatriating stolen artifacts, but it also exposed the deep-rooted complicity of Western institutions in the illegal trade. The most insidious aspect of the looting was the role played by wealthy private collectors, who often paid undisclosed amounts for relics smuggled out of Cambodia. These pieces, hidden away in private collections, are rarely seen by the public, and their true origins are known only to a few. The secrecy of private sales has allowed the illegal trade to flourish, with collectors willing to pay any price for a piece of a stolen empire. The theft of Cambodia's relics is not just a loss of art, it is a violation of the nation's soul. For the Khmer people, these artifacts are not merely beautiful objects, they are sacred vessels holding the essence of their culture, history, and spirituality. Each piece tells a story, whether it is a statue of Vishnu standing proudly in the inner sanctum of Angkor Wat, or a delicate carving of an Apsara dancer from Banteay Sray. To see these relics stripped from their original homes and placed in foreign museums or private collections is to see the soul of Cambodia fragmented and scattered. The plunder of Khmer relics has also had a devastating economic impact. Sites that could have drawn tourists, scholars, and cultural enthusiasts were pillaged, leaving behind empty pedestals and a legacy of loss. The illegal trade has perpetuated poverty, as looters receive a pittance compared to the millions paid by foreign buyers. Meanwhile, the treasures of Cambodia were paraded in Western capitals as exotic trophies, with little regard for their cultural and spiritual significance. Yet despite the centuries of oppression, exploitation, and erasure, the Khmer people have never surrendered their identity. They have risen from the ashes of conflict with a renewed determination to protect, reclaim, and celebrate their cultural heritage. This resilience is a testament to their unbroken spirit, one that mirrors the strength and conviction of their ancestors. Since the early 2000s, Cambodia has intensified its efforts to reclaim stolen relics. Through diplomatic pressure, legal action, and international cooperation, the Cambodian government has successfully repatriated several high-profile artifacts. However, each victory is hard-fought. Institutions like the Musée Guimet in Paris, where many Khmer relics reside, have been slow to return items, citing legal ownership and historical claims. Yet, pressure continues to mount, and as awareness grows, so too does the momentum to bring Cambodia's treasures back home. In a recent fiction novel by Rada Nongs, The Lost Treasures of Angkor, which is published worldwide, has played a crucial role in bringing the issue of stolen Khmer artifacts to the global stage. This trilogy promises to keep you on the edge of your seat. The story exposes the greed, deceit, and betrayal at the heart of the trade, while also emphasizing the importance of reclaiming and preserving Khmer cultural heritage. From the expansionist ambitions of neighboring kingdoms to the dark era of French colonial rule, and through the turmoil of civil war to the modern black market, Cambodia's treasures have been taken from the homeland and sold. This is not just a loss of art, it is a loss of identity, a violation of the spirit of the Khmer people, who see these relics as sacred vessels of their culture. Cambodia continues to battle for the return of its cultural treasures, piece by piece, using diplomacy, legal action, and growing global awareness to reclaim its stolen past. With every relic that is brought home, a part of Cambodia's spirit is restored, and a new chapter is written, one of resilience, cultural pride, and hope. The Khmer people, like their ancestors before them, stand strong, united, and unyielding in their conviction to preserve and honor the legacy that has been passed down to them. It is a testament to their strength that even in the face of centuries of plunder and oppression, they continue to rise, determined to protect the soul of their nation. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment or two. At Spark and Seed, igniting ideas, growing knowledge.